moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Because a lot of merchandise came out like around 99, 2000 when that was re-released theatrically. It's probably from that era.
Okay. Yeah, it looked dated, but then again, it could, they make it look like that. All right.
So this, welcome everybody.
Hey, welcome back.
You've caught us unawares again. Now,
is there a magic button over there, Jim?
Remember the Magic Garden where just a window opens onto the Magic Garden? That's what our listeners experience. We're just talking and the window opens and they come right into the room. You're the fly on the wall. You're the fly on the wall. We have entered collectively the dregs of the summer.
Yes. Yeah. When Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick is once again sitting at the top of the box office because there's nothing to compete against. Although I think Bullet Train is right up there.
I'm going to bring this up. I think we've brought this movie up more so than any other movie, and we've never covered it. Beast. We had a choice of.
I thought you were going to say UHF, and I'm like, no. I don't remember ever bringing this up.
We had a choice of covering Beast, or we could get creative and cover something that we wanted to watch.
Yes.
So we're not giving you a new movie review this week.
No.
We are going into the archives and we're doing a double feature of two very bizarre off-the-cuff films made by two music personalities in the late 80s. So this is kind of a genre to itself where, back in the 80s.
It is a very niche genre.
It is. Stars of MTV who've made a lot of music videos, producers, movie studios, and the stars themselves in some cases thought that it's a natural transition to go from the small screen to the big screen. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes not so much, but it's still interesting, usually in every case, even as a train wreck kind of a thing. But this week we're covering Weird Al Yankovic and UHF, 1989's UHF, and followed by Cyndi Lauper in Vibes,
which you
really had to go deep.
You dug deep for that one because I'm like, wow, I've actually
never seen this before. So this is a first time viewing for me.
Yeah, me as well. So we are blindly going into this.
Yeah. But first and foremost, UHF is the main feature this week. Now, Jeff, I'm expecting you to give us your full history with Weird Al Yankovic because you are a major fan of this guy.
I am a huge fan. Listen, the man can do no wrong in my eyes, and we'll talk about his credentials on the back end. But listen, I have three constants in my life from probably the age of 9 on, and that is Star Wars, that's Bigfoot, and that is Weird Al Yankovic. So, yes.
So how far do you go back with Weird Al? Is it, I Love Rocky Road? Is it
probably, no,
Ricky, You're So Fine? Or,
well, yeah, I mean, I own all those albums. It probably was the, 1984 would have been my first album that I bought, which was, Weird Al in 3D.
Yes, that was, of course. I had that as well. I had it on cassette.
Cassette. Yep. Cassette. Yeah. Matter of fact, I bought it the same day I walked into the theater and watched Romancing the Stone.
Ooh.
Yep, which was my buddy.
So you're at the mall, you stopped at Record World, and then you went to
Sam Goody.
Sam Goody. Okay.
Sam Goody was and I feel like there was like multiple record stores, but you still had to go to every one of them.
Yeah.
Even though they had the exact same things. Mm-hmm. So yes, Nature Trail to Hell is on that album
in 3D. That's where they got the title, In 3D.
Yeah, in 3D. And I had a friend in high school, Timothy Rude, and he borrowed this cassette from me. And that was the only song that he was not allowed to copy over for himself. His mother refused to let him. So she had to vet it. And that was a song that he was not allowed. But,
wow, my parents never cared that much, as to what I was listening to.
They were Jehovah's Witness, so I don't know. Again, I'm not gonna.
I'm surprised he had it to begin with. Then,
well, no, he borrowed it from me to record it.
Oh.
So he copied it, but that was the one song, "Nature Trail to Hell." I just think the guy is a freaking genius. First of all, just anybody that can make money off someone else's songs, but this is 89. This movie came out. So he was, like you said, Eat It was showing up on MTV. He was parodying this other stuff. He would show up on MTV a lot. He basically had his own hour at some points.
He was a guest VJ quite a bit. I remember him being he had his own show for a while, but he would show up for an hour here, an hour there when MTV would do like a special with him, and you obviously know this just as well as I do, but on his albums, not only did he have parodies, but he had original material as well, which is that Nature Trail to Hell song. Yeah.
Which is funny because a lot of people, you read enough of these interviews with him over the years, and that's the first thing they ask, which is, do you do any original songs? It's like, well, if you own one of my albums, at least half of those are original songs. And I will tell you, I just saw him recently in Poughkeepsie at the Bardavon. This is my third time seeing him. And hold on one second, and I'll tell you the name of the tour. The Ridiculously Self-Indulgent, Ill-Advised Vanity Tour. So he started this, I think, 2 years ago. And then when COVID hit, they kind of locked it down, but he's back on the road. And these are all original songs. You're not going to see him come out and sing Fat or Eat It or any of these, the parody stuff. He's not doing any of that. These are it's stripped down, just him and the band. And this is the same band that he's had since 84. Same guys. And you think about the fact that when they do a parody, that song has got to sound exactly like the original song. And, he's covering Nirvana, he's covering Michael Jackson, he's covering country songs, he's polka, obviously he's he plays the accordion, and he doesn't need it's parody, so theoretically he has every right to do a copy version of it, but out of respect for the artist, he will ask if it's okay, and he has been turned down more than once from artists, most notably Paul McCartney and Prince. But one of them, Paul McCartney, I think I can't remember. He wanted to turn a chicken pot pie, and McCartney is a vegan and didn't want. So, Prince, on the other hand, didn't want him to do anything with his music.
I'm picturing that when Weird Al asked Prince, all he got was crickets in return.
I guess there was one point where he asked to do not a parody of the song, but a parody of the video. And that was approved, but then they never went through with it, or I don't remember exactly what that was, but it was like, you know what? There's other people I can, when you got Lady Gaga, I was like, please, like that's the height of my career that Weird Al's doing a parody of my songs.
But I always pictured it. I always thought of it like as Weird Al is giving the public at large these parodies as a gateway to actually discover what's on his records, if you're so inclined to buy one of his records.
Sure. Yeah. Not only that, I mean, he gets into, they do the accordion medley, polka medley of like all the hit songs that year or whatever that he's coming out with. So sometimes you're exposed to songs that you didn't know. He'll do what the pastiche. He has one that's called Craigslist, and it's a parody of not a single Doors song, but it's the style of the Doors. So you're exposed to stuff that maybe you weren't really aware of, especially as a kid. Sometimes you hear these songs and I know the words to the Weird Al version more so than I do the actual.
Yeah. Let me tell you, in that regard, it's more enjoyable to listen to The Saga Begins than it is to watch episode 1.
And think about the fact that that was early internet. And he knew that movie. He knew every beat of that movie in order to make that song, because I think it dropped either just before or just after the movie came out. But that's one of the things he's talked about now and why he's not making as many albums and songs, which is by the time a song is released and he comes up with an idea for a parody, he says there's already 200 parodies of this song on YouTube or on Twitter or on, Snapchat. It's hard to stay original in this day and age. And yet here we are 40 years later and he's still, guy's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
And I don't begrudge him that. He deserves it.
He's got quite credentials. Like I said, we'll kind of get into that on the back end, but I have nothing but the utmost respect for the man.
Yes. Yeah. And his career is, as you just painted a picture, is long and storied, but I would think that his prime is in those days of the mid to late 80s.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the peak of his popularity was around Eat It. And,
because he really was the only one doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, not now. It's, anybody with a phone can make a parody of a song and throw it out there. And
and it's that era that gives birth to this movie that we're about to talk about.
And it is like, you look back at it now and you're like, somebody thought this was a good idea. But it's
a good idea. It is a good idea because this gives him, it's perfect, actually. It gives him the opportunity visually to do what he was doing parody-wise on his album.
Yes, correct.
Even though he's doing music videos, but those are parodies of those music videos. This is going into the genre of film. And I think if there's any shortcoming, I was expecting more of that. I was remembering there was more of these parodies, but they're kind of sprinkled throughout. But still, even with that said, this is extremely funny. It's goofy. It's stupid. Yes. But it is very funny. Yeah. I laughed out loud more than once. And I don't do that usually with comedies. I'm just like, I adjust my monocle and I, chuckle to myself.
You guffaw.
Yeah. But this made me laugh out loud.
This is a silly, goofy.
And let me tell you, my son watched this with me.
Okay.
Right. And he is just turned 12. So he knows Weird Al because we have Sirius XM radio in our car. And they have a kids station, which we don't listen to anymore because he's past that. But growing up, it's really for the pre-10 set. And Weird Al songs were heavily played on this station. And I'm sure they still are. So Saga Begins, Yoda, Eat It. So he knew who Weird Al is. And of course, because he does the Captain Underpants theme song.
Yep. Yeah.
He cameos as Darkseid on Teen Titans Go. So he knows Weird Al. So he was already indoctrinated before I put this movie on. After this was over, he told me, and I am completely serious, that was the funniest movie I have ever seen.
He's the perfect age because I think I was probably right around that when I saw Airplane in the theater. And that to me is kind of, the Kentucky Fried Movie, which is older than this. But again, it's the same. It's, Amazon Women on the Moon. It's like just these little skits. And like you said, the plot is.
But I appreciated this more so than those two movies because this is really family friendly compared to Kentucky Fried Movie, especially and Airplane, which has a lot of questionable humor now. In it, but I was this was something that we could watch together and I didn't have to be embarrassed or cringy.
Airplane has some questionable things in it and I think that was what made it so funny because I was left alone in the theater to watch this Airplane and it was just like the inappropriateness is what made it really funny. But this is fun. This is one I own. Definitely was very happy when it presented itself and apparently test audience loved it, but it was up against some serious heavy hitters back in '89. You think about what Ghostbusters 2, Batman, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, License to Kill.
Because it was released in the middle of blockbuster summer season.
Yeah.
So I could easily see how it got lost. You're talking about how you own it. For the longest time in the VHS days of the 90s, it was out of print. Like it came out on video.
Because Orion went bankrupt.
For that, whatever the initial run of it was on VHS, and then it never came out again. So it was of highly sought after collector's items. So all these people that are holding on to their VHS tapes must have been cursing when the DVD and the Blu-ray came out. Like this is worth nothing now.
I bet you they're still worth a couple dollars. So 2 weeks in a row now, we've started the movie with the Orion logo. I'm like, oh, Orion. And I just saw something trailer. So Orion's back in some form because there is some of these trailers have the Orion logo.
Have the Orion logo.
It's an updated version, but whether someone just co-opted the name or I don't know. They were bankrupt before this movie was even released. Directed by Jay Levy, who has a long history with Weird Al. And this was also written by Jay Levy and Weird Al, who plays our main character, George Newman.
George Newman.
Yeah, there's a couple Seinfeld tie-ins here. The most obvious is Michael Richards, obviously.
Of course.
He was right. This came out 2 weeks before the pilot to Seinfeld. You could see very much so Kramer in development with this character.
Now, if you're familiar with Michael Richards on the show Fridays, which was kind of an SNL ripoff that ABC had out for 2 or 3 years.
What day was that on?
It was on Thursday.
I got you.
I had to think about that. He played a couple of characters that were, I think, similar to Stanley in this on that show.
I
Fridays.
don't think he has a wide range.
But there was one character in particular I remember where he was playing like a little kid in his front yard, and he'd always play with army men and kill them.
Oh, I do remember that. Yes,
in different gruesome ways, right?
Yep,
I forget what the character.
Yep, I do remember that.
But it reminded me of that skit from Fridays. But the UHF opens with a Raiders of the Lost Ark send up. I think it's funny because it opens with a shot of a hill rather than a mountain. Like
right, yeah.
So you see the difference right away.
I was going to say, you got to make do with what you got in front of you, but they do a pretty good job of spoofing that.
Just a little throwaway things like, watch out for falling rocks as he's going through the temple. His guide that backs up out of the cave and gets hit by a train.
Right. Yeah, it's stupid. And
then the rolling rock, of course, he's got to have the rolling rock. That chases him through different like cityscapes and backgrounds. It's just fun.
Can make corners.
So right up front that you're getting it's a stupid movie, but if you're not in by the first 5 minutes, then you might as well turn this off if this is not your cup of tea. I love how he props the closing door with the little Oscar statuette that he's grabbed so he can get under the door.
At first I was questioning, I wonder whose Oscar that is, but it's obviously a fake. Because
they wouldn't give him. I read they wouldn't give him the rights to use the original design.
Yeah, I think the original actually has a sword he's holding.
Yeah,
right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no sword on this one. Like you said, if you're not in the first 5 minutes, then don't bother. But I did watch the Siskel and Ebert episode in which they reviewed this.
Oh, and where did you see that? Was it on YouTube or something?
It is on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I read on IMDb some of their feedback, and so I had to go in and actually watch that episode. Not fans.
I wouldn't think so. I'm not surprised that they weren't fans.
Listen, bad day, stick in the mud. They were just something. But we'll talk about that because it's actually pretty funny.
The plot of the movie is that George's Uncle Harvey wins a TV station at a card game. And it's off the grid mom and pop TV station that shows local programming that's about to close its doors.
Yeah, but nobody even knows these things exist anymore.
Channel 62, it is. And UHF standing for ultra high frequency in terms of broadcasting.
Not as first choice for a title, by the way. Studio demanded that it be called UHF. He actually wanted to call it the Vidiots. And I think in another country it is called the Vidiots, but the Vidiots of UHF or something like that. But,
which sounds like it's like an alien invasion movie.
I'd still watch it. Called the Vidiots.
The Vidiots of UHF. The Vidiots from UHF, I think is what the title was.
Earth Girls Are Easy was on the other day.
Was it?
Talk about alien invasions.
Was that pre-vibes or post-vibes? I think it was post-vibes. Earth Girls Are Easy, talking about the oeuvre of Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum, who plays the same character, basically, whether he's covered in blue fur or not. Yes. Uncle Harvey, by the way, that Weird Al actually had his own Saturday morning. It wasn't a cartoon show. It was a variety show in the same vein as Pee-wee's Playhouse. And he had Harvey the Wonder Hamster. So there's a lot of these little stuff like Uncle Harvey and Harvey the Wonder Hamster. There's at one point you see him, he's making a Twinkie Wiener sandwich. And these are like his signature sandwiches that he's made over the years, but now he's a vegan. So he uses tofu wieners, but split that Twinkie right in half, put the wiener in there and then put some cheese whiz.
So
on
you're
top of
saying
it.
that Weird Al actually this
is one of his
fiction mirroring reality. So
yeah,
he
this is a treat. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. How he's still alive, I have no idea.
Mm.
That doesn't seem very healthy to me.
So
Or yummy for that matter.
no, that didn't seem appealing to me at all.
Yeah.
So George goes to visit Channel 62, what looks like an abandoned building in the middle of the night. And the only one who's there is Philo, who is played by Anthony Geary of Luke and Laura fame from General Hospital. Because it took me a while to recognize who this was.
Yeah, he's almost unrecognizable in this role.
Who's basically playing, Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, almost, not quite as broad, but and they're playing Mr. Ed when I think the station, either he's watching Mr. Ed or they're playing.
I assumed that they were playing it. Nothing, no original content, just reruns.
So then we get introduced to the competition, Channel 8.
This is like quintessential, like stereotype 80s boss.
Kevin McCarthy, who I know best from Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yes. He plays like a jerk in every movie.
He does.
Yeah.
And what a jerk he is in this. And he fires poor Stanley, the janitor.
Spadowski, yeah.
For losing whatever it was, the report file.
Some secret file, yeah.
Which he was sitting on the entire time during the scene where he's firing Stanley, and he finds it. Oh, here it is! Oh, and
they're all laughing. Yeah, it's stupid. And he takes his mop away from him too. And Stanley's like, "That was given to me as a gift when I was 8 years old." Yeah, this guy R.J. Fletcher.
So there's a plethora of different characters in this, played by some surprising actors that.
Surprised that they showed up.
Billy Barty is in
Billy
this.
Barty, I know. I was gonna say, how many more movies did he have in him after this?
As Noodles,
89. Every shot's an upshot.
Fran Drescher as the receptionist.
Yeah.
As Pamela, the receptionist, and she's also has aspirations to be a newscaster, which she
Pamela
starts to
Finkelstein.
do.
She should change her last name. Was probably the first thing she should.
Then we get Victoria Jackson from the golden years of Saturday Night Live in the late 80s and early 90s, showing up playing Terry's girlfriend.
I just feel like she should have been in more stuff.
Yeah. And you know what? I was reading that she is so grateful to be in this movie because she never once had to appear in her bra and panties, was the quote that I...
Is that the only way she got cast?
And I think basically, apparently because I was watching some of the behind the scenes footage, which was, contemporary to the time. It sounded like she was a big Weird Al fan to begin with because she was quoting some of his lyrics.
I was going to say, I think they're really good friends in real life.
So Emo Phillips shows up at one point.
Emo opens for Al on this last tour.
Did he really?
Still got it. One of his albums was in heavy rotation in my college years. And he plays the shopkeeper who cuts off his thumb.
So I think that was the moment where my son was completely invested.
That's it.
During that
Boy,
scene.
is my face red. He's covered in blood.
And I love also the commercial parodies that they throw in, which are supposed to be real commercials.
Or you want to see
show.
more of those, right?
Spatula
City.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love the story where they actually did a mock-up of a billboard for Spatula City for the commercial that they filmed. And local businesses were getting people asking them, where's Spatula City?
Yeah, because the billboard was up for a while. Like months after a film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Uncle Nutsy's Clubhouse, which is Weird Al himself, or George, hosting his own local kid show.
Yeah, like old peanut gallery.
As Uncle Nutsy with his friend Bob as Bobo the Clown, who he makes eat dog treats and hits in the face with a frying pan, which, unlike Throw Mama from the Train, was apparently a real frying pan.
Yeah, split his lip.
Accidentally hit him in the face with.
Take.
Now, this actor's name is David Bowe. Now, it is very easy to misread that as David Bowie. As a matter of fact, my son, as the credits were coming up, my son's like, wait, David Bowie's in a Weird Al movie? I'm like, no, he's not. And I remember when this movie came out, an interview with Weird Al, and he said, let me just answer this question right off the bat. David Bowie is not in UHF. It's David Bowe, although, maybe I shouldn't say that and just let people think that David Bowie is in this movie.
Wow, he's really let himself go.
Yeah. There's another commercial in here for Plots Are Us, which is probably my favorite. where
didn't
you
even
see
write
just
that
the
one
legs
down.
and arms sticking out of the ground when it's going over like the competitors' funeral homes and
Mhm.
plots. And then there's one part where they say, "Don't forget to visit our new salad bar," and you see all these mournful people walking away
Walking to the
slowly from the salad bar.
Hope I had a sneeze guard.
We get the money for nothing spoof.
This is a note for note recreation. And from what I understand, Mark Knopfler said the only way they could do it is if he actually got to play lead guitar on it. So this is, I think, the only Weird Al song that his band didn't play all the instruments.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I had to
So-
explain to my son, first of all, what the Beverly Hillbillies was.
See,
And then what they
where
were
some of
doing
these
the parody of,
references-
yeah.
Right. Because not only do you have to explain what the Beverly Hillbillies are, but now you have to explain who Dire Straits are and the significance of that video.
Yeah.
Which was one of the very first CG, and it is a note for note recreation, not only of the song but of the video.
Yes. And if you were a kid in the 80s like me, you watched MTV always. And they played that video constantly.
Yeah.
So you knew
Yeah.
every second,
Mhm.
every frame of that video. So, and like you said, he was hitting even the Mark Knopfler stuff. Those quick cuts of Knopfler looking at the camera and Weird Al trying to find the camera.
Yeah.
I thought was funny.
Like he takes this seriously, this art of parody, of making fun of this
Yeah,
stuff.
definitely.
Note for note. Like if
So
I'm gonna
much
do
detail, so much loving detail goes into this stuff.
absolutely. Yeah. Yep. So
Once George takes over the station, it doesn't really help it any. It's running itself into the ground until Stanley takes over as the host of the kids show. And then suddenly it becomes a sensation. That show specifically, and then the channel itself. So then you get all these different shows popping up that are piggybacking off.
yeah,
of
now, I was gonna say,
Stanley's
now
success.
you're getting like this montage of all these, whether it's Wheel of Fish or if it's Conan the Librarian, which I guess was a skip from another show.
Really?
I
That
don't-
was another one my son loved. That Conan the Librarian.
See that reference he gets. I mean, a Wheel of Fish. If you watch the behind the scenes stuff, all the kids that were in the audience, like there's a scene where Al is greeting every one of the kids. Oh, thanks for nice meeting you. We should do lunch sometime. Great to come to. Here's your complimentary fish, and he was handing out those giant fish. They were real fish.
Yeah.
That they got from a market, and I guess by halfway through the day, they were pretty ripe. And he's just handing these giant fish to these kids. But this is the only one that we're, what is it, Gedney Watanabe. And he's playing, what the hell's the character's name?
Cooney, I think.
Cooney.
Yeah.
Right. And you get this because this is a soundbite that a lot of people, you're so stupid.
Mhm.
It's like, all right, a little over the top, but
Yeah,
still,
that probably
it's-
would not survive the final cut if this were released
nowadays.
today. But they also had that guy throwing the poodles out the window.
That was actually cut from some of the, I think the international release of the.
Not only do they show him throwing them out the window from inside, but you see the pile of poodles.
Yes, yeah, the pile
outside.
of poodles. Yeah. So that actor is Trinidad Silva, and this movie is dedicated to him. He was killed during the making of this movie. He was killed by a drunk driver.
He was supposed to be in the telethon scene, and
But the scene where
he was killed before that scene. Yeah,
kids, come here. A little secret: turtles are nature's suction cups. And he just licks the bottom of the turtle and he throws it off screen. You hear it stick to the ceiling.
Getting into this aspect with all the parody commercials and the different parody shows, it reminded me a lot of Elephant Parts, which was that Michael Nesmith long form
I
video.
don't even know what that is.
And that was from the early 80s, and he did mostly the same thing, like commercial parodies,
okay,
TV show parodies. So I would recommend anybody out there that's not familiar with Elephant Parts to go and see that if you're a fan of UHF.
I'll have to check it out.
Some other classic jokes, like the kid that wins the contest finds the marble in the oatmeal. It's like, you get to drink from the fire hose.
Yeah, right. Great.
And then speaking of Trinidad Silva, he's getting animals delivered to him for his next episode. And he goes, badgers? We don't need no stinking badgers.
Everybody knows that line, but nobody knows where it originated from. Badges? We don't need no stinking badges. But yeah, you bring back in Secrets of the Universe, learn how to make plutonium. We only mentioned Conan the Librarian.
He does that Jerry Springer.
That's it. Yeah, the Jerry Springer / and then they even make like an Al Capone.
What was in Al Capone's glove compartment?
Geraldo Rivera. That's a very deep cut because probably nobody in today's age remembers that. That was must-watch television.
It was.
Geraldo breaking
And
into
they
his
run
vault.
out of time. Well, maybe we could go into another wall when they didn't find anything in his vault. His vault was completely empty.
Yeah, and I think Town Talk, that was what it was called.
Town Talk, yes.
And there's mention of lesbian Nazi hookers. That's about as risque as you get in this, But what was great was when George and Bob, they had the wall of like the entire lineup trying to figure out, all the different shows. And it's really kind of a quick throwaway. But some of the titles of the TV shows that they don't make spoofs of is Bestiality Today, Buddha Knows Best, Leave It to Bigfoot, which I would watch, My Three Mutants, The Lice Is Right, and Volcano Worshippers Hour.
This reminded me, this board was just as pause-worthy as the board in Cabin in the Woods that had all the different monsters.
Yeah. Or the when Locke actually makes it down into the hatch.
Yes.
Lost.
Another one of my favorite jokes in the movie came up around this time when you're back in RJ's office and he's looking at, I don't know, the former owner of Channel 8, and he says, what would he say if he were still alive? And then one of the other guys says, help me, I'm stuck in this box.
It's so stupid, but it's funny. Help me. And I don't think a lot of people probably get this either, but Spadowski at one point does the whole I'm madder than hell speech.
Yeah, the network thing, right?
Yeah, that's actually a really good speech he does there.
The end game of this movie brings back Uncle Harvey. So Uncle Harvey won the station on a bet. And then he's about to lose the station on a bet because he loses and he owes the bookie or that you never see. I think he was Michael Shannon, actually, from Bullet Train. He owes him $75,000. Yeah, he owes him $75,000. So as a way to get that, he's going to sell the station to RJ because the station is now number one thanks to Stanley. Yep. And it's beating RJ in the ratings. So RJ is going to pay Uncle Harvey his $75,000 if he sells the station.
Which is what these studios still do to this day. Mm-hmm. If you have any kind of competition, just buy them out and then they defunct it. Yep.
To get the money themselves to pay off Uncle Harvey before RJ can, they stage a telethon. And they're actually start to make some money from the telethon until Stanley gets kidnapped because he's their number one star. So without him at the telethon, they can't raise the $75,000.
And this makes me laugh because this is the cliched bad guys in a warehouse playing cards while your hostage is tied up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Stanley is one with the mop. He is the original Star Wars kid when he gets his mop back in his hand.
Yeah, because you hear the lightsaber sound effect when he gets the mop back in his hand.
Yep.
Then this is the climax to this is literally explosive. George takes on the persona of Sylvester Stallone in Rambo First Blood Part 2, complete with a fake Wrath of Khan muscular chest.
Yeah. Are you saying that was not Ricardo Montalban's real chest?
I am saying that.
Are we going on that road again?
When I learned that, I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed, but
I'm still going with an urban legend.
And I was kind of disappointed when I found when this was actually just a fantasy sequence, this whole Rambo thing. But,
it's just an excuse to.
Yeah, but so he fantasizes that he's going into like this terrorist encampment to get out Stanley, and he's dressed as Rambo, and he's exploding these bad guys here and there, and he grabs Stanley, gets him in a helicopter, and before he gets in the helicopter, there's a booth set up that says helicopter rides, like $5 or whatever. So he has to get a ticket before he gets in the helicopter. And I'm sure you know this, but they had Sylvester Stallone booked to do the cameo
the pilot.
Of the ticket guy.
The ticket guy. Okay.
He was going to be the ticket guy in the helicopter booth, but for some reason he couldn't do it in the end.
Yeah.
Which would have been great.
That would have been a little too on the nose.
The kicker of this is when Weird Al, you see him blow up the Eiffel Tower. You see him blow up the Hollywood sign. Roar! And you see him press the button and he blows up the Eiffel Tower. Roar! And he hits the button. My son and I were laughing hysterically during this part.
Yeah. 2 years before Hot Shot, by the way, because they went all in with those Rambo parodies. But
the actual rescue of Stanley is done by the Cooney and his karate students. because they take out all the bad guys in the warehouse and they free Stanley. So of course they get the money and it's a happy ending at the end, complete with Gone with the Wind silhouette.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And then the movie doesn't end before you find out that Philo is actually an alien from the planet Zarkon, and he beams away at the end.
And you get that Large Marge kind of.
Yes. Yeah, definitely a Large Marge moment.
Claymation face reveal. So, well, I'm glad that you thought it was funny because Siskel and Ebert did not.
Oh,
this is funny. So I watched the whole episode from the opening credits and I'm watching this and I'm like, man, these guys really were the original Odd Couple. I mean, they really play up the fact that Roger Ebert's office was a schlubby hole in the wall and Siskel was a prim and proper. But the episode they reviewed UHF, Shag. You remember that? I think Phoebe Cates is in that.
I just have the barest memory of it now that you say the name of that movie.
Valentino Returns, and then they were talking about The Experts, which is a John Travolta movie, but it was new to video.
Oh.
So anyways, Gene Siskel, not one laugh from me. I was flabbergasted. And I'm like, you humorless jerk. But then Ebert had to back him up. And he goes, here's Roger Ebert's complaint about this movie. We never know what the underlying reality is of George's storyline. And I'm like, what? That's not the point. What are you doing? I love those two guys, but come on.
Talking about looking too deep into something.
Yeah, that was much. Oh yeah, no, they didn't think it was funny at all.
I read that Weird Al kind of got hit hard by the critical pouncing that he got on this, but you got to expect it with something like this. And I think that the high marks that the sneak preview got, I think shows that, that if this could have found an audience, it would have been a hit. But like we said, it was released in a sea. Well,
I mean, it's a cult classic now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just didn't find its audience in the theater. Like you said, it was just up against way too many other things.
And unfortunately, he never did another movie. I don't know.
No. I mean,
well, obviously, because this was not a hit, so he probably didn't have studios lining up to do a movie with him. But
right,
10 years later, it started to become, catch
By
on.
then you move on.
Yeah.
So I did see that Jerry Seinfeld was offered the role of Bob, which would have really cemented that, because you got George, which is a character on Seinfeld, Newman, who's a character on Seinfeld.
You actually had an actor from Seinfeld already in this.
You got Michael, so they're bringing Jerry Seinfeld. That would have been interesting. I do love the fact that when Al was promoting this movie, he referred to it as a cross between Son of Flubber, Sophie's Choice, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So even he wasn't taking it too seriously at this point. So you have to wonder what was left on the cutting room floor, because I'm sure there was other gags.
Yeah, I was reading that the first cut of it was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, come on, give me the Weird Al cut.
A lot of fans have been asking for that, but Weird Al, just like we say every once in a while, like there's a reason why those things got cut. There probably some of it didn't work, so they had to tighten it up. Crispin Glover, did you see the story about this?
This guy is nuts. Crispin Glover.
What did they want him to play? Did they want him to play Bob or Philo? The only part that he was interested in playing was Crazy Ernie on that commercial.
Yeah, because there's a line that he thought was funny and he wanted to say it.
And they wouldn't let him. Like, he wants to be in the movie. Let him play Crazy Ernie.
No, didn't think he was right for the part. Sorry, Crispin Glover. What do you think you are?
Which is I think adds to Crispin Glover's mystique. Like, nope. Yeah.
No,
give me Ernie or give me death. Yeah. That's it. And
they're like, we're good.
And they wrote the part of Philo for Joel Hodgson from MSDK.
Mystery
he would have been perfect. He would have been perfect in there, but he was afraid that he wasn't a good enough actor to be in a movie. Like
he was self-doubting himself.
He was self-doubting all the way. But Tony Geary, a Weird Al fan, stepped up.
Who's not a Weird Al fan?
Yeah.
Who's listening right now going, he's okay.
Filmed in Tulsa, Oklahoma on location. I don't know why, but that's where they filmed it.
It's probably cheap. They probably
did. But going back to Siskel and Ebert, I wrote down some quotes myself. Ebert called Al a dispirited vacuum at the center of many scenes.
Wow.
So sucking the life out of the movie, in other words. Ridiculous. Al gives it its charm. Yeah, lighten up.
Yeah.
Siskel and Ebert.
I don't think they can now.
No.
Yeah, it's too late. I wonder how many regrets you have. If we go back and we listen to some of the stuff that we covered, you're like, maybe I was a little too harsh.
So it did actually make more than its budget. Cost $5 million to make. It made 6.1 at the box office.
All right. It's probably made much, much more than that on disc.
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
So I'm sure somewhere out there there's midnight screenings of it. Maybe everyone's offering up some Twinkie Wiener snacks. Now,
I know you have the soundtrack. You must, right?
I do. Yes. I think I have. I don't have every album, but because I had a bunch on, like you said, the early stuff was all on cassette. And then the last couple have just been streamed. You can get physical copies, but I think Mandatory Fun and the one prior to that I just downloaded.
But I would just want to, take some time right now and thank Weird Al, if you're listening out there, for this.
Yes.
And all the contributions that you've made.
Absolutely. The man is a national treasure. He can do no wrong. You hear about all these celebrities and all their salacious lives and the crap that they've done. This guy's done no wrong. He's just out there having some fun.
That's all he's guilty of. That's all he's guilty of.
Is that what he's guilty of? Anything for a good laugh. I mentioned Mandatory Fun. It actually set the U.S. record on Spotify for having the most tracks from one album in the top 10 at one time, taking the first 4 spots in July of 2014. I'm just going to run down really quick some of this guy's, because I don't know if you know, one of the big tragedies was his parents were both killed in a carbon monoxide leak a few years ago. He lost both of his parents at once. Yeah. He now is married and has a kid, but it was much later in life. I don't know how old she is now. But this guy started kindergarten a year early and skipped 2nd grade, was valedictorian of his class in 1975 at Linwood High School, attended California Polytech State University to study architecture, graduated with honors. In 1982, he was the opening act for Missing Persons. In 1987, he was the opening act for the Monkees. I would have killed to see that.
Oh, wow.
So 97, he had the Weird Al show that ran for one season. He has directed videos for Hanson, Paul McCartney, and Jeff Foxworthy. You started mentioning some of his voiceover work. The guy has done numerous voiceover stuff over the years. But 14 original albums, 14 million sold, 150 parody original songs, 5 Grammys, 11 nominations. He's done over 1,000 live shows, 4 gold and 6 platinum records, and he's written 2 children's books. So talk about an oeuvre. Now,
this is quite a buildup to our buckets for UHF.
Well, I can't go. I'm not going 5
it?
buckets. I'm not going 5 buckets by any means. I'm going to go with 4. I'm going to stick with 4. It's a lot of fun.
I'm gonna almost match you. I'm gonna go 3 3/4.
Okay.
Out of 5, I should say. Out of 5 buckets.
Yep.
I really liked it, just for the fact that it was something that me and my son could laugh at.
Well, I love the fact that he actually. I mean, you did have to explain some of the jokes.
I think that if I were to ask him right now, he'd say it was a 5 bucket movie.
Wow, good, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. It was fun.
Yeah.
I wish, like you said, I wish he had kind of done more. The Saturday morning show was fun, and he tried a lot of different things and whatnot. And they would do, much more kid friendly. Not that this is racy by any means, but so if you want to check that out, that is on disc out there. It may be on it may be on Tubi or something. It only ran one season, maybe 24 episodes. So we're checking out. The Complete Al is behind the scenes kind of a spoofy biography movie that he made. And obviously we do have, is it weird? The new movie he's got coming out
with Daniel Radcliffe movie.
Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah. In which Weird Al directed.
I cannot wait to see that.
But Daniel Radcliffe is playing, and that's on Roku. So
hey, I've got a Roku.
Yeah, I know. Well,
I'm set up for that.
I don't. This is the world we live in now.
And
I
you'll
might
have to come over to watch it.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun, especially watching it with your son now.
Yeah.
That he's indoctrinated into the Weird Al world.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not a tearful, serious autobiography. Like,
I
this isn't
can't
funny.
imagine.
This isn't like UHF.
It has to be. I hope that it's completely a spoof, that it's just a goof.
Yeah.
But then you never know. I don't know.
I'm expecting a full-on Harry Potter spoof at some point during this movie as well.
How can you not at some point? So, and like I said, this is the third time. I just saw him recently on tour. The first two times, like I said, he would do the parody stuff. And so, Yoda is like one of the big closers, and he would have the guys come out dressed as stormtroopers, and he was in the Jedi robes, he'd come out in the fat suit. So he would play up a lot of stuff that he established in these videos. But this last one is just very much original songs, and they change the lineup every night. So if you see him one night in Albany and you see him the second night in Poughkeepsie, you're getting two different lineups.
Did they do Nature Trail when you saw them?
They did.
They did.
They did. Yes. Yeah. And some of it he'll do when he'll mash a bunch of songs together.
Right. Did they do the theme song to this movie, UHF?
UHF, he did indeed.
He did?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but there's other stuff like Albuquerque is probably one of my favorite songs, and it's like a 14-minute song. They did that, so that was the highlight of the concert for me. And it was a very, if you've ever been to the Bardavon, very intimate.
Yes.
Not a bad seat in the place. And so he's out there touring. I think he's until October. So if anyone has an opportunity, go see him. Check it out.
Cool.
This band, like I said, original band members since the early 80s, and they are just masterful at their craft.
Awesome.
Fun stuff.
All right.
There you go. I got my Weird Al out of me.
Do you think they have the tofu dog and a Twinkie at the concession stand?
You know what? That's a complete missed opportunity, because that would have been, and I should have been smart enough to put my Weird Al shirt on today. And we did meet him, and my kids were very disappointed because I think they thought he was going to entertain them, but he was at ChillerCon in Jersey, and this was maybe 10 years ago. So
he's going to come out with, the noodle arm dance, whenever kids are.
Well, I mean, we took our picture with him, so that was a highlight for me. But I had to say, "Oh yeah, we saw you at Terrytown." And of course, he just looks at me, and goes, "Oh yeah, that was a great show." And I'm like, he doesn't. Yeah. He probably says that to everybody.
It's like, I've done a million shows. I don't remember.
Yeah, correct.
Terrytown.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you. You were in the. Yeah, I was thrilled. My kids were a little let down. Like I said, I guess maybe I didn't prepare them.
Just revel in his presence. That's all you have to do.
But they did. That was one of their first concerts, was that Terrytown that we saw.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
All right. So we'll go to the concession stand and maybe pick up a tofu dog and a Twinkie right now. And then we'll be back with Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper. I always get mad at people that would pronounce it Cyndi Lauper. It's like, it's not Lauper. It's Lauper.
Lauper.
Vibes.
And Jeff Goldblum.
Yes, Cyndi Lauper. That sounds like a good opportunity for my career. Yes.
I don't know about that. I guess we'll find out.
Spielberg saved him after Vibes with Jurassic Park. But yeah, let's leave.
Wait, what year was
UHF.
Vibes? What year was Vibes?
88. This came out before UHF, actually.
Wow.
So yeah, let's go and come back and we'll talk Vibes.
This drive-in theater is radioactive. Now you can hear tonight's show on your AM car radio. Turn your ignition key to the accessory position. This will not drain your car battery. Now turn on your radio and zero in on the following AM station.
Men, there's a drive-in movie full of juicy people. Wow! It's a trap! Help! It's Pick! We've had it, men.
A pleasant aroma for you, but not for mosquitoes. Pick is easy to use. Light it and forget it. Pick's aroma keeps mosquitoes, gnats, and sandflies away. Pick is the best protection for barbecues, fishing and camping trips, or just relaxing in the yard.
So if you don't want our company ever anywhere, just like Pick and see what I mean? Bye!
Pick is on sale at the refreshment stand now.
Okay, we're back And as promised, we are talking vibes.
Did you finish your Twinkie hot dog?
It's hard for me to believe that anybody would find that edible, even somebody whose name that starts with weird.
I'm pretty sure that's like a leftover from like college days where you're just
probably.
like, I got, ramen noodles. We didn't have ramen noodles back in the day. Yeah, I have a buddy, Kevin, who may or may not be listening, and he was notorious for eating peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwiches.
Oh, I can't see how that would be palatable.
I don't know. Listen, each your own, right? I can't judge. I can't until I actually eat one. I can't say that's. I've never had one, nor have I gone on my way to make one. But if somebody made one for me and said, "Here, try it," I might.
Perhaps. Do you think there are any Vibes fans out there right now saying, "Just talk about the movie, get to Vibes"?
Can you stop talking about Weird Al? I just listened to 45 minutes of you blabbering on about Weird Al. No, I will talk about this man until my dying breath. So
okay, Vibes. Cyndi Lauper. Now, what is your relationship with the music of Cyndi Lauper? Were you a fan back in the day?
No, that song played ad nauseum forever.
Now she actually had two songs that played ad nauseum. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and then Time After Time.
Time After Time. But it was True Color after that?
True Colors was many years after that. Well, not many, but that was her next album.
Okay. I never owned any of these albums. I do remember Captain Lou Albano.
Oh yeah,
in her Girls Just Want to Have Fun video, and that was the height of his career. I will tell you, he lives well. I think he's passed now.
He has passed.
Yeah, but his family is from Mayapack, New York, which is right up the road, and some of his family still have establishments with the Albano name attached. But my senior year in high school, 1985. I was in a singing group called the Impressionists, and our last concert, all of us seniors got to do our own songs. You'll be shocked to know I did a Huey Lewis song, Heart of Rock and Roll, with my buddy Tim. But my friend Karen Brandis did Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and she had red hair and came out in the hole.
So wait a second. You say singing group. Was this a cappella?
No, I mean, it wasn't an a cappella group. We actually had accompany music, usually a piano, but we had soundtrack stuff, and usually it was pre-recorded. So
okay.
Yeah, I'm making it sound much cooler than it was. It wasn't cool. It wasn't cool. But we would travel. We would go to the malls, and we would play at other schools, and we actually played in a prison once, which was very interesting. So it was a nerdy Glee club, basically. Wow. Yes, that's why I enjoyed Glee so much. So, yeah. But yeah, no, I was not a Lauper head or whatever you wanna. She was there. She was there.
I did have the cassette. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Time After Time. She Bop was a big one.
That's one of her better songs that don't get enough airplay. I don't like these songs that they just come on, Eileen, stop. I'm listening to an 80s station. You got to play that every hour on the hour.
Most of that album was on the radio. That was like an album that was full of singles.
Yeah, so, now that you bring that up, I probably did have the cassette.
Like She Bop, All Through the Night, Money Changes Everything.
Yeah, those are all great songs.
Yeah.
Every one of those songs, you're right, probably was on the radio.
Yeah. So she was huge in from 83 to 85, and only helped by the fact that she got involved with professional wrestling. Like you mentioned, Captain Lou Albano. Yeah. Who, I was a wrestling fan. So I don't know if you followed wrestling at all in the 80s, but I did on a weekly basis before she was even involved. Roddy Piper, who we all know very well from They Live and, Hell Comes to Frogtown. Maybe not so many people know that one, but he was a huge wrestling personality. And this is in the days of Hulk Hogan, of course, in the 80s. That's what brought me on to wrestling. So Roddy Piper had his show on every wrestling Saturday program called Piper's Pit. And he was a bad guy at the time. So he would invite good guys on and insult them and harangue them.
Why would they go on there?
I don't know. It was just the gluttons for punishment. And then he would have bad guys on and he would, tout them. So he would have Captain Lou, who was a bad guy at the time.
He was a bad guy?
He was a bad guy at the time.
Was this before he actually played Mario?
If you've listened to the show for long enough, you know that we're New York based. Jeff and I don't live in the same area. We're in the vicinity of each other, but we're not, together when we record this show. I live in the Poughkeepsie area of Dutchess County. And in the 80s, they used to tape WWF Saturday morning shows at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center.
Oh, get out of here. I don't think I knew that.
They would tape 3 hours worth of shows at a time. And you'd go for the night and you'd be there for like 4 hours because they also had main events that they didn't record just for the crowd that would show up. And they recorded 3 different Piper's Pits for each hour-long show. So, the ring, of course, was set up in the middle of the arena, and the Piper's Pit was set up on the stage where you'd normally have a band if you were there to see a concert. And so I would go to that. That's how big of a fan that I was. And,
yeah, but that's cool. That's literally in your backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to Madison Square Garden to watch.
On those Saturday morning shows, you'd have the superstars fighting nobodies. You wouldn't have main event matches. That's why they had Madison Square Garden. So you'd pay to go to see the main event matches at Madison Square Garden. And that's why they threw you a token main event at Poughkeepsie that they didn't film. They just did that to entice you to come along to it and watch the rest of it. So with that background, watching Captain Lou appear in a Cyndi Lauper video, I was like 12 or something when I was first watching wrestling.
Prime. Yeah, you're prime.
So this is before they, openly admitted that wrestling was sports entertainment.
You never figured that out. They're like, "Why is that fake?" Do you ever get in fights with your friends?
So every once in a while, something would happen where Roddy Piper would attack Jimmy Snuka with a coconut on Piper's Pit, and you would see the coconut shatter as he hit him over the head with it. And I'd think to myself, did that just happen? It would be like an Andy Kaufman thing. Like, I thought this was fake, but that looked kind of real.
Listen, there's a difference between a coconut and a chair to the head.
True. But Lou Albano would come on Piper's Pit, and anybody that's a wrestling fan would remember this. And he would talk about how, because of him, Cyndi Lauper was who she was,
Oh, he took claim to her fame.
So he'd come on Piper's Pit and say, Cyndi Lauper wouldn't be such a superstar if it wasn't for me managing her career and being in her music videos. So Piper, then Lou, you got to have her on the show. I'd love to have Cyndi Lauper on the show. Don't worry, Roddy, I'll get her on the show. Week after week, he'd show up without Cyndi Lauper. And so one week, suddenly she was there. And I was in disbelief. Like, I knew that Captain Lou was in her videos, but in my heart of hearts, I'm like, Cyndi Lauper would never show up on wrestling.
Stoop so low. Huh?
She was never going to do that. And when she showed up, I thought it was an impersonator at first.
That's not Cyndi Lauper.
When she showed up on Piper's Pit, and then she sat there, and at first Roddy was very nice to her. And then he started to explain, so Lou tells me that he's responsible for your career. Tell me exactly how he shepherded you from a nobody to who you are now. And then she's like, wait a second, Lou has nothing to do with my career. He just appeared in a few of my videos. And then they start arguing, and then she starts hitting Piper over the head with her purse. And that
full Ruth Buzzy?
She went full Ruth Buzzy, and that brought her into the wrestling world. So suddenly there's vendetta matches where she's got a wrestler on her team.
Oh, so she didn't wrestle herself.
She didn't wrestle herself. She came out with a wrestler by the name of Wendy Richter, who she
recognize that name.
She started to manage her. She became a wrestling manager.
Say what you will about Vince McMahon, but he knew how to create a product.
So for about 2 years, she was heavily involved in pro wrestling. And being a wrestling fan, I followed all of that.
Sure.
So I thought,
genius. That's cross promotion.
Yeah, I thought she was great. Brilliant. I thought she was great.
Randy Macho Man Savage ever show up? Oh yeah.
No, that was before he came on the scene. She had already kind of transitioned out of wrestling at that point.
She moved on, huh?
She moved on, but she never really. After the initial that first album was huge. It was just, she was in the upper echelon of pop stars back then.
Yeah, she was on high rotation on MTV.
Yeah.
I mean, those videos were,
It was like Cyndi Lauper, Prince, Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, that she was up there in the top 5, top 6, whatever. But I don't think she could sustain it. I think her image was so specific I think she did try to dispel it with the next album, True Colors. I think she tried to take a more serious tone.
Yeah,
But it didn't work. She just kind of got lesser and lesser returns on her albums coming out. I don't know if it was the material that wasn't as strong or what, but she just kind of petered out by the end of the movie.
No.
But yeah, that's just how I saw
but
it.
She's still out there. I just saw her yesterday on a psoriasis commercial.
Yeah, she's still out there.
She looks good. Looks good.
Because of the involvement in wrestling and everything, because what is she doing but acting there?
Right.
There's a case to be said for anybody that gets on stage and performs in front of thousands of people that in a way you're acting.
Sure.
So that's why so many music stars feel that they can go into movies or TV.
They were all thrown in front of the camera. So MTV, that monster vehicle. So you think Ken Kwapis, the director, saw her on this Viper's Pit and was like, oh, we need to make a movie with this lady?
Well, it was Columbia that was set on making a movie with Cyndi Lauper. They initially wanted to pair her for this movie with Dan Aykroyd.
I heard that. He wanted nothing to do with it, right?
He met her. I don't know what happened there, but he met her and said, not for me.
No,
I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to do this.
He's writing Ghostbusters 2?
This is right before Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
From what I understand, Columbia stuck by Lauper because I guess he told Columbia that he wasn't going to do it if.
All right, fine. We'll find somebody else.
Yeah, and they did. Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. It would have been a different movie. Jeff Goldblum is Jeff Goldblum. Like, I don't really think he plays too broad.
Even in Earth Girls Are Easy.
I know, which was just on the other day. And I'm like, this guy it doesn't matter if he's got blue fur. He's still just got Jeff Goldblum. Yeah. Yeah, that was I just happened to come across that on TV the other day, and it was a sex scene with him and Gina Davis. And I'm just like, this is bizarre. This is just out there.
Because what you see on, if anybody's ever seen his show on Disney Plus, The World According to Jeff Goldblum, that's who you get in every Jeff Goldblum movie.
Yeah, except he's playing this weird character on these apartment.com commercials. I don't know what's going on there. So, but Nick Deasy, there's some weird character names going on in this movie. This is an odd movie. So like it's really kind of hidden away.
It is because it was released and forgotten. It was kind of brushed under. I don't even remember seeing this make the rounds on cable that much. Come to think of it.
I don't know. Like I said, watching it, I felt like I had seen it before. So it probably was a video rental.
Well, and it does have like a sci-fi fantasy aspect to it because
absolutely. Well, you figure 88. Actually, I read that the movie's described as romancing the Ghostbusters in the Temple of Doom. So that right there pretty much tells you all you need to know about this movie. They are riding high on Ghostbusters. Any of this other supernatural, like you said, the fact that she's coming off these music videos, so she's got a presence. I don't know what Peter Falk is doing here. He's all over the place.
Ken Kwapis, the director.
Yeah, he's
done quite a bit because I never taken notice of this name before, and it's a memorable name. But he's done Space Force, Freaks and Geeks, episodes ER, Bernie Mac, Malcolm in the Middle, Larry Sanders, Amazing Stories. Remember that show? The
Office. Yeah, no, this guy's got quite a resume. But
so
you're right.
Lots of TV work.
Lots of TV. But yeah, Cyndi Lauper is playing Sylvia Pickle. Jeff Goldblum is Nick Deasy. As you mentioned, Julian Sands is Dr. Harrison Steele. Googie Gress. I don't know what's worse, his real name or his character name, because Googie Gress is playing Ingo Swedlin. Sounds like something you need a vitamin to take care of.
They call him Baby Huey at one point in the movie.
Baby Huey, which is thought maybe he was the guy from Herman's Head. That's not, you go to his IMDb page and he really doesn't have anything that's recognizable. But you would think a name like Googie. Shame on you, parents, by the way, if that is his real name.
If that's his real name.
Yeah. But there is a gentleman in here who is the museum manager of Nick's, Jeff Goldblum's character, Bill McCutcheons, who plays Mr. Vandermeer. Do you know who this gentleman is?
Who is it?
This gentleman is Droppo, the Martian from Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Oh,
And I'm like, I know this guy. And boy, the minute I looked it up, I have it all in caps. I was very excited. He's Drapo. Yes, which is that is a Christmas classic in my household.
all these characters, most of them that we've mentioned, are playing psychics of one form or other. And they're part of an NYU study that is being
I don't know. It's like some
by Julian Sands.
Paranormal research.
There's a pre-scene to all of this stuff at the very beginning where you see two old guys wheeze their way up to some temple in the mountains in Ecuador. Is it where they are? It is Ecuador.
They're in Ecuador.
And they find this mystical glowing pyramid, not a huge pyramid, but like a small.
Well, it's a tippy top of the pyramid, as we realize.
It's a table-sized pyramid.
Yeah,
the tippy top.
It's funny because Richard Edlund, who we talked about, is a huge ILM alum. He gets credit for the visual effects in this, and you get a little bit of effects toward the end of the movie, but otherwise it's kind of lame. But do you know who one of those gentlemen were at the old gentleman, as you just referred to him?
Well, isn't one of them the guy that plays Ebert from the
Mayor
Broderick?
Ebert from Emmerich's Godzilla?
Yeah.
As soon as I saw, is that Mayor Ebert? Yep.
Yep.
Michael Lerner. That is him indeed. He's playing a character named Bert, who we actually meet again later in the hospital, where he just stammers and drools.
Because now it's never really clearly pointed out what this pyramid is, but it's alluded that it's from an alien civilization. So one of them touches it because he gets greedy, starts speaking in tongues.
Yeah, you should never touch glowing pyramids that you find in Ecuador. I was waiting for I'm waiting for this episode on ancient astronaut theorists on History Channel, but they have not covered it yet. This is like Golden Child level cheeseness.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And this opening scene takes itself very seriously as well. It's not played for laughs, the opening scene.
No.
It's all dread and threat. The guy that touches the pyramid, Ebert, gets blown back, and then for the rest of the movie, he's in a vegetable state. And then the one guy himself who actually touches the pyramid, he disappears.
Yeah, he vaporizes.
He vaporizes.
That's the guy, yeah.
You open in New York, and then you meet all these psychics, and then you meet Cyndi Lauper's character of Sylvia.
Yeah, this is kind of like the opening of Ghostbusters where you meet Venkman, and he's testing these kids with cards and seeing if they have psychic abilities, and the one guy not only gets it right, and he goes, and I also wet my pants.
So Cyndi Lauper is playing a character not too far removed. She's got the broad New York.
Well, I was going to say, I think she actually kind of toned it down a little bit. And I think she does a great job in this. She's definitely got screen presence.
She does. The way that the character is kind of has no self-confidence. Always throwing herself at
absolutely,
at Julian Sands and whatever, and she doesn't feel like she's worth anything unless somebody else tells her.
Right, because at one point when he's putting her in a cab or something, he goes, "Oh, she goes, oh, you can count on me. You can draw on me. Do whatever you want." And I'm just like, all right, that's a little desperate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's off-putting that she's just that unself-confident that she's, but not before we realize that she has an invisible spirit friend named Louise.
So that's why each of these psychics that are at this table have a different ability. So as you said, she talks to the dead, but only one specific dead person.
Yeah.
And if she wants to talk to somebody else, then Louise
so
can
that
channel
person,
them.
right. So there's like a concierge.
Yeah.
That will usher in the other dead person for you to talk to.
Yeah.
And Goldblum can touch an object and reveal its past.
So he's kind of got like a Dead Zone thing going on with
and I will tell you straight up, if I had it would be a nightmare to have these powers, because you see it with him, which is he's just a parlor trick. Everyone wants you to touch this. I need to find my keys. Come in here and do this. We got the board of directors are in today, and we want to entertain them. And I'm like, just leave this guy alone. Leave me alone.
Yep. With the parlor trick aspect of his job, because he works at this museum and he's browbeaten by his girlfriend, and he finds out she's cheating on him. So he's at the end of his rope. She knows
he has this ability.
Yeah.
How do you think you can get away with cheating? All he's got to do is touch her panties. And he's like, oh, Yeah, you slept with the hockey team. It's like, although I will say you can turn his performance into a drinking game every time he licks his lips after a dry delivery.
Yeah.
He does like that frog lip thing. And I'm
Mhm.
like, wow, you get drunk really quick. So
There is one
again,
funny bit though when one guy at the museum, one of the security guards, asks him to touch the fish that he just bought. They told me this was fresh.
oh
Is
yeah,
it
touch
fresh?
And
Yeah.
he grabs his hand and slashes it. Oh,
Yeah.
you touch his fish, but you won't touch my thing.
Steve
Go ahead.
Buscemi.
Exactly where I was
Yeah.
going with that. Steve Buscemi.
So again, this serves a purpose of further developing Cindy's character of Sylvia, because this is her ex-boyfriend that calls her out of the blue, that
Fred.
treated her badly, that shows up at the track and wants Sylvia and her friend, her dead friend, to help him pick winners at the track. And she thinks that they're going to end up together again. And this guy's current girlfriend is just waiting for him, at the gate.
To reap his riches so they can walk off.
Yes. So he's only in it for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I can tell you can call Steve Buscemi a lot of things, but Fred is not one of them.
Yeah.
He does not look like a Fred.
But
all.
it does further serve her character, as a, you feel sorry for her. You feel bad for her.
Well, you feel bad for both these characters.
Yeah.
Really. They're saddled with these abilities, and she talks later on, but she talks about the fact that when she was a kid, she fell off a ladder and suddenly could communicate with the dead, and they thought she was nuts as a kid. And now she's dealing with this. Yeah, I don't know. I just, like I said, it would be a nightmare to actually have this ability.
So then we get Peter Falk as Harry comes into the story here. So he is in Sylvia's apartment waiting for her when she comes back from the track. And he says that his son is missing in Ecuador.
This is some horrible fake crying.
Are we supposed to believe him? Because he's obviously lying to her that he's got a son lost in Ecuador. But no, that he's somehow tied to the two guys that you saw in the very beginning. So she agrees to help him because, what else is she doing? So she, in turn, goes to the museum to get Nick on board. And then she talks to him about astral projection, how she left her body at one point. That's telegraphed. They're coming back to that at some point.
I want to see all these abilities.
Yeah. There's one point where he says to her, "Do you have any dresses that go above mid-bosom?" And she says, "You said bosom."
Like I said, she's really, it's amazing that she didn't get more work, because she probably could have done some serious stuff. Get some of these silly comedies out of the way or whatever, establish yourself. And
if this was a hit, probably that would have happened.
Yeah, she does have screen presence. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
But almost immediately, as soon as they get to Ecuador, Harry gives Nick the shirt of one of the guys, and he says that it's his son's. And again, just like the girlfriend, that he's going to know immediately that you're lying. And he does. He does. This isn't
your son. It's from an older guy. Oh, did I say my son? I meant my father. I'm leaving now. I would be the same with Nick. Meanwhile, he brought his own food and a suitcase full of water. Do you know how heavy that suitcase full of water must have been? Listen, you could probably get away with it back in the day, but now you're paying $50 anything over 50 pounds.
The truth comes out that that Harry's looking for the room of gold, the city of gold, whatever he calls it.
I don't know. Yeah, I think the subtitle of the movie is Pyramid of Gold.
But he's convinced that it's going to make him rich. Like, I don't know who would buy the pyramid or how they're going to take it out if it's,
right. Because it doesn't, you're right. It's not made of gold. It's like an energy thing.
So then we get the reveal that Julian Sands is there, and he was only courting all these psychics so he could get his hands on his pyramid himself. And the pyramid, it turns out, channels like all the psychic energy in the world. Now, how they figured that out, I don't know.
Oh, look, there's instructions right here.
So they use Jeff and Cyndi to find the pyramid again, which they do at the end. So the big finale of the movie are all the characters around this pyramid, and Cyndi ends up touching it and starts speaking in tongues for what seems like 20 minutes. She's talking in tongues.
This goes on, and it's very underwhelming, because when they first see the city, it's an obvious matte painting, and then it just goes to like this little set. This little top of the pyramid set that's, surrounded and shrouded in fog to hide the matte painting behind it.
And then there's a scene where Sylvia actually does go out of body to save Jeff's character at one point because he's about to be shot by one of Julian Sand's goons. But you never see her. It's not like it's a spirit floating or anything like that.
No,
he's just
not only
pretending that she's there. There's nothing there.
Right. And you kept wanting to see a Force Ghost of Louise as well, because this is like the third main character that she's constantly talking to and helping out. And you want to see this woman by the end. Harry gets taken out.
Yeah, Peter Falk
I was like,
doesn't make it to the end of the movie, unfortunately.
Well,
does he or does he not? So she is touching the pyramid, so you think she has to die because the other guy got vaporized. But nope, Louise sacrifices herself to save Sylvia somehow or other.
We don't see it. It just we're told. Oh,
now she can no longer speak to Louise because Louise is gone, moved on, because she sacrificed herself. So that's not a bad thing that happened to Louise, actually. So at the very end, again, it's the will they, won't they, Sam and Diane, Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd relationship thing that they've been trying to build throughout the whole movie, where they finally get together at the end, now that the bad guys are vanquished and the giant statue head is crushed, Julian Sands. At the end, they're an item, and Louise is gone, but suddenly Harry is there. So Sylvia's talking to Harry. So now is Harry going to creepily watch them as they consummate their relationship?
I was like, Harry, go away now. I'm going to stay right here.
Yeah.
he's going to keep an eye out for her.
But why? Yeah, why are they happy that Harry is there? He was a D-bag to begin with.
Right. Now they're saddled with him.
There's somebody there. It's not Louise. It's Harry. And they both smile.
And they all look at this. Yeah. Hey, it's kind of like Sully's face at the end of Monsters, Inc. when he hears Boo's voice. Yeah. It's like, it's Harry, you piece of crap. Listen, it's cute. It's quirky.
And instantly forgettable.
There's some nice chemistry between the two main stars. Like
as you said,
Lauper is definitely better than average. It's that dirge in the 80s where they were just making multiple movies about the same concept, Yeah. That's about all.
Yeah.
There's a nice line where when Nick has the machine gun, do you know how to even work a gun? He goes, oh yeah, I was captain of the machine gun team. Like there's some cute little throwaway lines. And like you said, you can't help but not like Jeff Goldblum. He's just always plays the same character. Special effects are really horrible. James Horner's score, which is like, boy, dude, either this was a start of your career.
Ron Howard is a producer.
Same year as Willow.
Is,
and he
Willow
directed.
is the same year. Willow is the same year.
Yeah.
But this was released in August of 1988. Usually besides January, the second month where movies go to die. It cost $18 million to make.
Where'd that money go?
It made at the box office $1.8 million.
Ouch.
Roger Ebert maybe sums this up with his 1 out of 4 star review.
Oh, Roger.
Movies like vibes appear and disappear like fireflies in the dog days of summer. Nobody seems to have made them. Nobody sees them. Nobody remembers them.
That's so true, though. But he just echoed everything we said.
He did. He did.
He was spot on with that one. Which is too bad.
I think we can agree that, as you said, that Cyndi deserved better.
Like I said,
can see why Columbia wanted to work with her. She's a huge music star. It was just a matter of finding.
You brought that up that, the MTV really kind of put these people in front of the cameras. And for whatever reason, some of these execs thought that these people were perfect vehicles to,
Well, in some cases, they're justified. Well, look at what happened with Purple Rain. A huge, huge hit.
But I think he had control over that. It wasn't like he was handpicked to helm him or to star in a movie. I mean, didn't he write that?
He didn't write it, but it was based on.
And it's all his music.
It's his music.
There's one song. She has one song in the end credits that was made specifically for this. She worked with Spielberg when she did the soundtrack for Goonies. But like Phil Collins, remember he had a movie,
and then he was on Miami Vice as well.
I know. Well, that's listen. That is the cool. Glenn Fry was on.
On Miami Vice. Sting.
What's the name?
He was in a lot of stuff in the 80s.
Sting's showing up on Only Murders in the Building now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huey Lewis showing up in Back to the Future.
I'm remiss to not mention David Bowie all over the place in the
Bowie.
80s.
I think he had some acting chops, though. I think Bowie actually kind of proved himself a little bit.
Yeah. It was hit or miss with him in a lot of what he did. Once he got into the 80s, it was like with The Hunger and Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence and
I'm
Labyrinth.
thinking like
all those
Labyrinth.
things.
Labyrinth. I mean, that's a pretty established role. That's not a cameo. That's, bygone days, man. Yep. I want you to star in this movie and write me a song. Write me a hit song for the end credits. It was enjoyable to watch, but you're right. It's cotton candy. It's empty calories and completely forgettable.
And there were some, as you said, that Machine Gun line was funny. There's some throwaway lines in there that made me chuckle, but it just needed more of it. It wasn't satisfying on any level.
No, it was very
as a comedy
watered down.
Or as a,
it was,
But buckets wise, I'm gonna maybe go 2.5, just as a curiosity.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3 just to kind of prop it up a little bit. Like I said, it's quirky. It is. I found it interesting. Jeff Goldblum actually was on an episode of Columbo in '75, so he has played with Peter Falk before.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, so I had to dig that one up. But it's like you said. There's a couple cute little things about it. It's quirky and quaint. And that's about all we got to say. Listen, it can't hold a candle to UHF.
No, it cannot. Yeah, by comparison,
it was a fun pairing.
By comparison, UHF is like Citizen Kane compared to this.
I don't know if I'd go that far either. More like Citizens on Patrol. Oh man. But it's fun sometimes to kind of just bring these movies back to light. And somebody out there is going, I remember that movie. That movie sucked. I hated it. I walked out of that movie. Yeah. But like you said, 80s, late 80s, we would go to the theater all the time. And it really didn't matter what was playing. Hey, Fatal Attraction one week and then Roger Rabbit the next. It didn't matter. You went, saw movies.
Yeah. And comedies like this were like a dime a dozen in the 80s.
Yeah, which you don't get a lot of nowadays.
No, movies like this they don't make them like they used to. Maybe that's a good thing in the case of a movie like this.
Yeah, I think it was really trying that romancing the stone, like you said, kind of formula.
Yep.
But there you go. So what are we doing next week?
Next week, we're going back into time travel.
I was going to say, speaking of some time travel, going back to the 80s.
Yeah.
You claim to have not seen our main feature since you saw it in the theater, which is Back to the Future 2.
Correct.
This boggles my mind. All 3 of Back to the Future movies are in heavy rotation in my household. Back to the Future is a 5-bucket movie. We reviewed it. Back to the Future 3 is a 5-bucket movie for me. 2, not so much.
Well, you see, I don't know if I've ever seen Back to the Future 3.
And that blows my mind. So in talking about this, we could not talk about 3 without you watching 2 again.
Correct. Because I'm not going to know what's going on in Back to the Future 3.
Well, listen, it's not Citizen Kane. I don't think it'll take you very much. It's not, brain surgery to try and figure out what's going on in Back to the Future 3. Oh no, Marty's lost in time again. Wait a minute. What happened in 2? So, but it is, I'll be very excited to go back and talk about this because
it's been a while since we covered the first Back to the Future. And I know how important these movies are to you. So I figured it was high time that we cover another one. And now what are we covering along with it?
This is something I just watched last night. And it was something I stumbled across on Netflix. But in watching it last night, it is an HBO film. So I don't know if HBO bought this or if it was because it's a BBC movie. It's actually called Frequently Asked Questions About Time Travel. It's now being rebranded as FAQ About Time Travel. And the only name that you're probably going to recognize is Anna Faris.
Okay.
Well, I think when I watched this movie, I didn't even know who she was. But she does have a name for herself now. It's short. It's not even 90 minutes. It's a very quick, quirky little time travel story.
All right.
And I'll be very excited to kind of bring this to the masses It is on HBO Max now, and we will be talking about that.
I'm looking forward to it.
We are time traveling.
Awesome.
So get that DeLorean, man.
All right.
I hope you brought some plutonium because we need to get back.
I will. I'll bring it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening to all you Al heads out there.
To the man himself, if by any chance you are listening,
He's listening to
by any chance, any outside chance, if you listened and you're still listening to the end of this episode.
He's like, I can't wait till they mention my name again. I don't think he's that vain.
No, I don't think so either. But we really hope that we did you proud.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Listen, man's got a lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
So there you go. And unfortunately, you had to endear vibes. Go check it out. I mean, it could be nostalgia fun for you.
Yeah, it's on Prime.
It is on.
It's on Prime.
Don't pay for it.
No.
Don't pay for it. Worst case, I don't even know if my library had it. I didn't.
No, mine didn't. Mine definitely
did not. No. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Bye.
Hey, everybody. If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your favorite podcasts on. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and then share it with your fellow movie nerd friends. It means the world to us and helps our listenership grow.
You can also find us on all of the socials, Instagram and Twitter at TMI_podcast 2018. We're on Facebook and YouTube as well. Just look for the Popcorn Bucket.
You can help support this show by visiting our TeePublic page for some TMI branded goodies such as hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, and stickers. tpublic.com/TMI Confessionals, all one word.
A 5-star review would be incredibly nice as well. I'm just saying.
Thanks again for listening. We truly appreciate you. Be sure to come back next week. We'll save some popcorn for you.
You piece of crap.